Good morning. This is Dr. C. Radhika Dayakumari, Associate Professor, Department of Physics, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research, Chennai. Now I am going to present a topic from the course Semiconductor Physics. Let me see the outline of the presentation. Out here, this presentation covers a topic under semiconductor. First topic is the semiconductor. Second is the types of semiconductor. Third one, the various types. It is the intrinsic semiconductor, extrinsic semiconductor, and then about n-type semiconductor and the p-type semiconductor. Next is an introduction about the semiconductor. We all very familiar about the semiconductor. So once again, I am just recalling the semiconductor. Semiconductor, it is a solid material in which its electrical conductivity lies between the conductors and the insulators. Semiconductor in its pure state is neither a good conductor nor a good insulator. That is, when it is at 0 Kelvin, it can act as an insulator, and if the temperature is given or some impurities are added, it can act as a conducting material. This is the important property of a semiconductor. Now, based on the introduction about the semiconductor, now we can move on to the next topic, which is the types of semiconductor. So this is the types of semiconductor. Why the semiconductor is classified into different types means based on the property that if when a suitable impurity is added to a pure semiconductor, its electrical conductivity can be modified. Because of this property only, now the semiconductors can be classified into intrinsic semiconductor and the extrinsic semiconductor. In general, this intrinsic semiconductor is called as the pure semiconductor and the extrinsic semiconductor is called as the impure semiconductor. Now let me see in detail about the pure form of semiconductor, which is called as the intrinsic semiconductor. Intrinsic semiconductor, a semiconductor in an extremely pure form. Why we are telling it as the pure form means here we are not adding any other impurities to modify the electrical conductivity. We are not adding any other impurities to modify the electrical conductivity. So the semiconductor, it is in a pure form, extremely pure form without any other impurities. This is called the intrinsic semiconductor. Then how its electrical conductivity can be varied means how this semiconductor it is going to behave as a conductor from insulator means its electrical conductivity can be changed due to the thermal excitation. The very good examples of the pure semiconductors are the germanium and silicon. Now let me see some of the important properties of the intrinsic semiconductor. So the first property is this semiconducting material, it belongs to the fourth group of the periodic table. We all are very familiar about the periodic table. In the periodic table, this semiconducting material comes under the fourth group. Why it is coming to the fourth group means see, this germanium is having 32 electrons and silicon is having 14 electrons in their atomic structure. If it is for the 32 electrons and the 14 electrons of silicon, both elements are having 4 valence electrons. Because of that 4 electrons, we can call such materials as the tetravalent atoms. Tetra means it is nothing but 4. So it is having 4 valence electrons. So such materials are called as the tetravalent atoms. So when this semiconducting material become more stable means the neighboring atoms form a covalent bond by sharing the 4 valence electrons with each other, and so it can achieve a stable structure. Next is, so we can see the explanation in the form of diagram. Now look at the first diagram. The first diagram, it shows the stable configuration of the germanium atom. Stable configuration of the pure germanium atom. Now the first diagram, it shows the pure germanium atom. Pure germanium atoms are here and surrounding some 4 black colored dots. Each germanium atom is surrounded by 4 black colored dots, and this 4 black colored dot represents the valence electrons. We have seen that the germanium atom, it is having 4 valence electrons. It is a tetravalent atom having 4 valence electrons. So that 4 valence electron, it is surrounding the germanium atom, and it is represented in the diagram in the form of dots. So now what happens is, this is the form when the temperature is at 0 Kelvin. So now what happens is, these 4 valence electrons from each germanium atom, it share with the neighboring it shares with the neighboring germanium atoms valence electrons. So while it is sharing, it makes a strong bond between each other. It makes a strong bond, and based strong bond means what bond is? Covalent bond. It makes a strong covalent bond between the 2 neighboring atoms from 2 other germanium atoms. So these likewise, it makes a strong bond, and now the material become more stable. So now what happens is, these bounded electrons, it will go and occupy in an energy band. What energy band it will occupy means, it will occupy in a valence band. Look at the second diagram. In the second diagram, it shows the energy band diagram for this intrinsic semiconductor when it is at the temperature of 0 Kelvin. So under the temperature 0 Kelvin, all the bounded electrons are occupied in a valence band. So valence band is filled with the bounded electrons. So this black color dot represents the electrons. Also we know each energy level should be occupied by 2 electrons. So what? In each horizontal lines, 2 electrons are occupied in the valence band. Meanwhile, in the conduction band is vacant, because this is the temperature at 0 Kelvin, and as we know that a semiconductor, when the temperature is at 0 Kelvin, it will behave as an insulator. For the insulator property, we know that there is no free electrons in the conduction band. Here also the bounded electrons are occupied in the valence band, and the conduction band is vacant, and there is an energy gap. Also we know that for a semiconducting material, the energy gap is very small. What is called this energy gap means, the gap between your valence band and the conduction band is called the energy gap. Meanwhile here the energy gap is very less, and now at this particular condition, when the temperature is at 0 Kelvin, the pure semiconductor, here it is a germanium, it is behaving as an insulator. So this is the diagrammatic representation for a pure semiconductor under the temperature T is equal to 0 Kelvin, and the second diagram shows the energy band representation. Next is this. So at very low temperature, no free electrons are available for conduction. Also we have seen this in the previous diagram. So as there is no free electrons in the conduction band, it is behaving as this semiconductor, it behaves as an insulator at very low temperature. So next what we are going to see is how the intrinsic semiconductor is going to behave as a conductor. That part now we are going to see. So for that, so how the semiconductor is going to behave as a conducting material means, it needs some free electrons for current conduction. How it is getting the free electrons means, if we are increasing a temperature, because in the starting itself we said that for an intrinsic semiconductor, its electrical conductivity can be varied due to thermal agitation, which means we are increasing the temperature. Now if the temperature is increased from 0 Kelvin, what happens is, the bounded electrons which is present in the valence band, it gains the thermal energy. And due to the excess energy, the covalent bond breaks. Due to that, if the covalent bond breaks, then the electrons are free. So when the temperature is increased, some of the electrons may occur sufficient energy to break the covalent bond. Due to that, the electrons are now free. Once the electrons are liberated from the bond, they become free electrons. These free electrons, it can move randomly throughout the crystal. So at the particular time, if we apply an electric field, this free electrons, it may get some directional motion and it starts to contribute to the electrical conductivity. When it starts to conduct the electrical conductivity means it has to gain the energy and it has to jump from valence band to conduction band and it contributes the electrical conductivity. So the energy required to break a covalent bond and to set an electron free is equal to the band gap energy. Then only the electron, if it enters into the conduction band with the energy equal to the band gap energy, then only it can start to conduct. So for a germanium, the energy band gap is of 0.72 electron volt and for silicon, the energy band gap is 1.1 electron volt. Next is if we increase the temperature, what happens? That we can see in the diagrammatic representation. Now look at the diagram. This is the same germanium atom. This is the pure semiconductor, pure germanium atom, and here if we increase the temperature, we have increased the temperature. Now what happens if we increase the temperature? The electrons in the valence band, the covalent bond break, electrons are free, it has to jump to the conduction band. So what happens is, look at the diagram here, the covalent bond, it gains the energy and the covalent bond breaks and one vacancy is created. Here I have mentioned the word as a vacancy. What is called this vacancy means? If the bond breaks, the electrons are free and that electron, it gains the band gap energy and it jumps to the conduction band, leaving a vacancy in the valence band. That vacancy only we are calling it as a holes. Now let me, in the second diagram, we can see the corresponding energy band diagram at the temperature T is greater than 0 Kelvin. Look at the diagram. The valence band is filled with the electrons. Now what happens is, some electrons from the valence band, it gains the energy equal to the band gap energy and it jumps to the conduction band, leaving a hole in the valence band. So in general, if there are 6 number of electrons in the conduction band, means 6 number of holes also may present in the valence band. That only the holes only we have represented in the valence band as a small circle and the black color dot represents the electrons in this diagram. So when an electron occurs the energy, it jumps from valence band to conduction band. So as a result, a vacant site is created and this vacant site in the valence band is called as a hole. So the absence of an electron in the covalent bond is known as a hole. Hence, these holes, it can attract an electron and so it can act as a positive charge. So, for every free electron freed from the covalent bond, one hole is created. This part we have seen in the diagram also. As a result, an electron moving from a covalent bond to fill a hole leaves behind a hole in its original position. So, the hole effectively moves in a direction opposite to the electron. So, the hole in its new position may now be filled by an electron from another covalent bond and it moves one step in the direction opposite to the motion of electron. Hence, in an intrinsic semiconductor, the current conduction is mainly due to the movement of electrons and holes. This is the very important property for a semiconducting material. That is, in an intrinsic semiconductor, the current conduction is mainly due to the movement of electrons and also the holes. Therefore, we have to conclude the intrinsic semiconductor as the number of electrons in the conduction band should always be equal to the number of holes in the valence band at any temperature. At any temperature, number of electrons in the conduction band is equal to the number of holes in the valence band. So, now let me see the carrier concentration in an intrinsic semiconductor. What is called the carrier concentration? Carrier means, for a semiconductor, the two charge carriers are the electrons and the holes. So what is called the charge carriers means, this is the the material which is taking part in the current conduction. So for a semiconductor, electrons and the holes are taking part in the current conduction. So what? If for the semiconductor, the two charge carriers are the electrons and the holes. So the carrier concentration means it is the to find out the number of charge carriers for a particular unit volume only, we are calling it as the carrier concentration, which is also called the density of charge carriers. Next is about the how the Fermi energy, what is the variation of Fermi energy level with the temperature, especially for an intrinsic semiconductor we are going to see. Actually, we know that Fermi energy. Here in this diagram, EV is there. What is this EV means? This EV represents the maximum valence band energy level. And EC represents the minimum conduction band energy level. And here EF, what is this? EF means EF represents the Fermi energy level. And also, what is Fermi energy level means? Fermi energy level is the maximum energy level up to which the electrons are occupied. The maximum energy level up to which the electrons are occupied, and that maximum energy level only we are calling it as the Fermi energy level. Now let me discuss the variation of Fermi energy level with temperature for an intrinsic semiconductor. So the Fermi energy of an intrinsic semiconductor is given by at T is equal to 0 Kelvin. It is given as your EF is equal to EC plus EV by 2. So what does it mean is EC plus EV by 2 means this Fermi energy level is halfway between your valence band and the conduction band. So this can be proved from this statement as EF is equal to EC plus EV by 2. Now, so the first point what we are concluding is the Fermi level lies in the midway between EC and EV at temperature T is equal to 0 Kelvin. Now, if the temperature increases, what happens is if we vary the temperature, even for a small room temperature even, what happens is this Fermi energy level slightly increases with the increase of temperature. Slightly increases with the increase in temperature. This part we have represented in the diagram. So with this we can conclude the intrinsic semiconductor, and only one point is here, that is the how the conduction of electrical current is taking place in an intrinsic semiconductor. That is, we all know that intrinsic semiconductor is having two charge carriers. One is the electrons and the other is the hole. According to classical free electron theory, the electrons, it starts to move, if we apply an electric field, the free electrons, it gains the directional motion and it starts to move in a direction opposite to the electric field. But see here, that only we have represented here, electron flow. Here the current flow, conventional current flow is towards the right, but the electron flow is towards the left. Like the same way here, here hole, what happens? The hole means these holes also, it will take part in the current conduction, but it will take part in a current conduction. It starts to move in a direction along the electric field direction. So this diagram clearly explains the movement of electrons flow and also the movement of holes flow. So the charge carriers in a semiconductors are electrons and holes. Both the charge carrier will take part in the current conduction. Also, according to classical free electron theory, the electrons and the holes will take in a direction opposite to the field electrons. Next is extrinsic semiconductor. In the starting we have seen extrinsic semiconductor is also called as the impure semiconductor. That is how it is an impure semiconductor. Mean in a pure semiconducting material, if the charge carriers are originating from the impurity atoms. How? That is, we are adding the impurities to a original pure material, then this type of semiconductor is called extrinsic semiconductor. So this, how this can be obtained means, this can be obtained by doping trivalent or pentavalent impurities in a tetravalent semiconductor. That is, the electrical properties can be changed easily even with the addition of very little amount of impurities. We are adding we are doping trivalent or pentavalent impurities to a pure tetravalent semiconductor. Trivalent means the material should have 3 valence electrons, and pentavalent means the particular material should have 5 valence electrons. And what is called as doping means the process of adding impurities to a pure semiconductor, means such process is called as the doping. So that we can see here. So the method of adding impurities to a pure semiconductor is known as doping, and the added impurities are called dopants. The addition of impurities will increase the number of electrons and holes, which increases the electrical conductivity. This is the basic introduction about the extrinsic semiconductor. Next is based on the impurity added. Based on the impurity added, once again we can classify the semiconductors into two types. One is the N-type semiconductor and the other it is the P-type semiconductor. This classification is mainly based on the doped impurities. That is, we already discussed in the extrinsic semiconductor that we are doping with pentavalent impurity atom or trivalent impurity atom. Based on these pentavalent and trivalent impurity atom only, this classification has made. So, N-type semiconductor, when a small amount of pentavalent impurity is added to a pure semiconductor, it becomes an N-type semiconductor. So, let me give some examples of pentavalent impurities are arsenic, antimony, phosphorus, etc. These all will come under the melamine having 5 valence electrons. So only it is called as the pentavalent impurity atoms. Next, about the N-type semiconductor. Pentavalent impurity is having 5 valence electrons. So these 4 electrons of germanium atom, it makes a covalent bond with the 4 valence electrons of arsenic. Therefore, the 5th electron, which is free, finds no electron to form the covalent bond. This part I can explain you in the diagram. Look at the diagram. See, this is the diagrammatic representation for an extrinsic semiconductor. That is, what is the difference here is, in the intrinsic semiconductor, all the atom it is of the germanium atom. So we are telling that it is the pure material. But here N-type means it is the impure element. Impure means here all the germanium atom, more germanium atoms are here, and the middle one it is the phosphorus atom, which means the phosphorus is one of the pentavalent impurity atom. The pure germanium atom is doped with the phosphorus pentavalent impurity atom. So at present all germanium atom is having 4 valence electrons, but the phosphorus atom is having 5 valence electrons. So what happens is, how it becomes stable is, see, or the 4 electrons from the phosphorus atom, it share with the neighboring germanium atom and makes a strong covalent bond, and it will go and occupy in a valence band. So 1 electron is left free. Because it is not having any other electrons to make a covalent bond. So what that electron will do is, so we can call that electron as the free electron. So that free electron only I have shown here as a dot and by the representation as free electron. So next is this free electrons. The number of free electron is more than the number of holes in the N-type semiconductor. Because more free electrons, one extra electrons are present in the N-type semiconductor. So we can conclude that the number of free electrons is more than the number of holes in the N-type semiconductor. So in this case, that is for a N-type semiconductor, electrons are the majority charge carriers and holes are the minority charge carriers. That part we can see in this diagram. See, this diagram we have already discussed. See here, these free electron, these excess free electron, it is donating an electron. This pentavalent impurity atom is donating 1 electron, free electron. So that donated electron is called the donor atoms. And see, all these donor atom, it will go and occupy in a separate energy level called the donor energy level. These donor atoms, it won't directly go into the valence band, also it won't go to the conduction band. What it will do is, it will go and occupy in a separate energy level based on its energy, and that energy level is called the donor energy level, and that donor energy level will be very close to the conduction band but is little below the conduction band. So in the diagram, this ED represents the, in this diagram, this ED represents the donor energy level. So next is, so the excess free electrons will occupy in a separate energy level which is just below the conduction band. Such energy levels are called donor energy levels, and the corresponding atoms in the donor energy levels are called donor atoms. Now, so see, now look at this diagram. Valence band is filled with the bounded electron, conduction band is empty, and the donor atoms are filled in the donor energy level. So this all occurs when the temperature is at 0 Kelvin. Now at this time, the material is behaving as an insulator only. How we can say the material is behaving as an insulator means the conduction band is empty. If the conduction band is having the electrons, then only we can say, then only it will start to conduct. So now at the present condition, the conduction band is empty. So what? So the semiconducting material, the n-type semiconducting material is now behaving as a insulator. Now so how can we define, based on these, the definition, it is very important. So how can we define this donor energy levels means, just the definition I am giving. When a pentavalent impurity is added to a pure semiconductor, 4 electrons form a covalent bond with a neighboring atom, and the excess free electron will occupy in an energy level close to the conduction band. Such energy levels are called donor energy levels. This is the definition for donor energy levels. Now, these donor energy level, for germanium atom, the donor energy level is of 0.01 electron volt, and for silicon, it is of 0.05 electron volt below the conduction band. Hence, even at room temperature, if we increase the temperature, and even for a very small temperature or at the room temperature, almost all the donor electrons, which is very close to the conduction band, all the donor electrons, immediately it will enter into the conduction band and it starts to conduct, and at the condition, the semiconducting material, it will behave as a conducting material. Next is the p-type semiconductor. When a small amount of trivalent impurity is added to a pure semiconductor, it becomes a p-type semiconductor. Some example of trivalent impurities are boron, gallium, indium, etc. What is called this trivalent impurities means an element with 3 valence electrons, and such elements are the boron, gallium, indium, etc. and these are called as the trivalent impurities. So for a p-type semiconductor, if a trivalent impurity is added, it becomes a p-type semiconductor. Let me see this in the diagrammatic representation. Look at the diagram. All the germanium atoms are there. Here at the center, one boron atom is there. Boron atom, we know boron is a trivalent impurity atom with 3 valence electrons. So what happens is, how it becomes stable here now is, see these 3 valence electrons from the boron atom, these 3 will make a strong covalent bond with the neighboring germanium atom, and one place is left vacant. One is left vacant, and that is called as the hole. Always the vacant site of an electron is called as the hole. So what these holes will do is, these holes, it will go and occupy in a separate energy level. So next is addition of trivalent impurities gives a large number of holes in the p-type semiconductor. That part we have seen in the diagram now. Now with this, the number of holes in the holes is more than the number of electrons in the p-type semiconductor. In the case of p-type semiconductor, number of holes is more than the number of electrons. So we can say that for a p-type semiconductor, the holes are the majority charge carriers and electrons are the minority charge carriers, because number of holes is more, so it is called as the majority carrier, and number of electrons is less, and so this is called the minority charge carriers. So now these excess holes, these excess number of holes, it will occupy in a separate energy level just like the electrons in the n-type semiconductor. So here even it is a hole, what these holes will do is, these holes it will go and occupy in a separate energy level just near the, just close to the valence band, which means just above the valence band, and such energy levels are called as the acceptor energy levels, and the corresponding atoms which is present in the acceptor energy levels are called as the acceptor atoms. So in the diagram we can see the valence band is here, the conduction band is empty, and the acceptor energy level is just above the valence band. So the extra holes it will come and occupy in this energy level EA, the acceptor energy level. That part we can see elaborately in this diagram. This is a valence band. The valence band is filled with the electrons and the conduction band is empty. Conduction band is empty. So now the holes it will go and occupy very close to the valence band. So what happens is, even for a small temperature, the electrons in the valence band very easily it can jump into the acceptor energy level. That is, acceptor energy level, the holes are present there. Holes has the tendency to act as a positive charge. If it is a positive charge, it can very easily attract an electron from the valence band. So the electrons will be shifted to the acceptor energy level, and again it can move to the conduction band, and now the material starts to behave as a conductor from the insulator. This is about the p-type semiconductor. So before concluding this, let me go a review on n-type semiconductor and p-type semiconductor. What is the major difference between n-type and p-type semiconductor is? The basic similarity is both will come under the extrinsic semiconductor. What is the major difference in this n-type and p-type semiconductor is, for the n-type semiconductor we are adding pentavalent impurity atom. In the case of p-type semiconductor we are adding trivalent impurity atom. For the n-type semiconductor, more number of electrons, so electrons are the majority charge carriers, but in the case of p-type semiconductor, holes are more and holes are the majority charge carriers. So this is the major difference between the n-type and the p-type semiconductor. Also another one thing, the excess electrons in the n-type semiconductor, it can occupy in a donor energy level, but in the case of p-type semiconductor, the excess holes will occupy in a acceptor energy level. So why it is called acceptor means it can very easily accept an electron from the valence band. So this is a major difference from the n-type semiconductor and the p-type semiconductor, and both are having very good advantages. Based on the application needed, we can prefer any type of semiconductor for further applications. So thank you.